Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, joined once more by Phil and Dave for another special spoilers discussion. This is, of course, Andor episode 5. We're in episode 5 already, everyone. I want to say it's going quick. Obviously, this is the third week of the series airing, but we are almost at the halfway point of the series. But before we get into any of that stuff, how are we all doing this evening?
Very good, very good. It's been a bit of a busy week here at the Bryan residence, but no, it's really good. I'm glad I got to see Andor before this came on because I was cutting it fine. But yeah, I watched it just the once, but no, looking forward to talking about a really good episode.
Indeed, yeah, not doing too badly, And for once, I was actually up with a laptop on before 8 o'clock. Usually, I'm watching this about 8:30, 8:45, but I actually had this on before, so I sat there going, I can actually refresh once, and there we go, watch the episode. And I'm glad. We were saying before we came on, there's not a lot to talk about, but there is a lot to talk about. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, and this was kind of it today, Normally, me and Dave see it first, and Phil checks in the afternoon. And this time, Dave, you said you were cutting it fine. The episode finished for me at 10 to 9. It's been a very long and busy day. We've got Martin in the comments. It's always lovely to see you, Martin. And we're just going to round out the socials as always. Everybody, please comment your thoughts on Andor below. This is, of course, a spoiler discussion. Obviously, we're going to discuss the episode at length today. If you haven't seen it, you can probably watch this actually. Cause I don't want to say not that happens. It's disrespectful. We're moving into a newer era of Star Wars, hopefully with this series, where we're getting like character development and storytelling as a primary focus. So a lot of it actually is going to be about some of the characters. And we're still figuring out how to process this because it's a bit different doing spoiler discussions. So please do comment along on the stream, comment along afterwards. We will reply to those. And please let us know your thoughts. And if you're a fan of Star Wars, you're a fan of Andor, maybe, please do consider hitting the subscribe button. There's a lot more coming on the way. And if you want to find out about some of our videos, what we're up to, the best way to find out is doing on our Twitter, Instagram at cinema_savvy, Facebook and letterboxd.com/cinemasavvy, and a link to Redbubble where you can pick up some merch in the description below. And you may have seen on our channel, I'm just going to say, this is my background for me being completely off the boil today. Obviously, today's the James Bond 60th anniversary. So happy James Bond Day to everyone watching at home. 60 years of the finest spine in cinema. And I was at the concert last night. That's why I'm a bit hazy today. I've had a headache all day. It was a wonderful concert. But I literally just completely forgot Andor came out until Phil texted me this morning. Like, my Twitter has literally just been bombed all day. And I was like, shit, Andor's out. Sorry, I just broke the swearing rule on straight away, but I don't care. So yeah, we're gonna talk Andor, but it is a Bond anniversary. I'm just gonna plug it. We've got a lot of Bond stuff that's happened on the last week, so that's why my mindset's also been on the Bond train because there's a lot of stuff on the channel. And if you want to take time to have a look at that, please do. Maybe after the stream's done, kick off, you can watch the concert live on Prime Video because I think it goes up at 10 o'clock tonight UK time. So there's one for me to plug for you all to watch. But rather than ask you both what your favourite James Bond character is, which I really was half tempted to do, we're going to talk about this episode. So anyone curious at home, we're going to split this up like we've done the other few weeks. We're going to go into storyline paths. We're actually going to do this in a very weird order. We're going to start with Mon Mothma, then we're going to talk about Luthen, which we know is the end of the episode. And then we're going to talk about essentially Andor and the rest of the team planning the, what would we call it, a coup, siege?
It's still a heist for me, yeah.
Yeah, heist,
Yeah,
there we go. Sorry, I was
heist.
forgetting the most blatant word. It's a heist. So we'll talk about hashtag heist plan and the usual segment too. But quickly, to both of you, how did you both find today's episode?
I was actually really impressed with it. As each episode's passed with this, it's been a really, if the term's been bandied about so much, but like a slow burn of a series, and it has been that, but wouldn't put a slow burn. It's just been so well paced out for the coverage of 12 episodes. Like this stuff that we're getting now, especially with Andor, could have probably been covered in, if it was a quick show, like 6 episodes, would have been done in maybe 1 episode of them banding together and them going to do whatever they want to do in the heist. The fact we're now on to episode 5 and are just on our way to what they're going to do, it's really good. But yeah, I really, really like this episode today.
Yeah, to answer your first question, Q, especially because he's awesome, and that's each individual iteration. But no, for this one, I'm actually almost worried for Series 2 because I'm enjoying the actual pacing of this. As you're saying, it's taken us this long to get to the beginning of the heist. Well, next season, we're getting 4 years in those 12 episodes. So you're talking those 3-episode arcs. So I'm like, but I'm enjoying how they're telling this version of the story. So kind of, I don't want to say it, but I'm now nervous for next year only because I've enjoyed this style more than I thought I would. No, today's episode, I was the first one to see it from the three of us today. Sat at the morning coffee, and it was one of those episodes where you have to watch it. I'd say this: you have to watch it twice, not because you're going to miss something because you're focused on action, because there's actually so many little details to pick up on. Not just with the Andor story arc, which compared to last week's, this is much more an Andor-focused episode, but the two little beats we have with Luthen and with Mon Mothma, there's a lot to unpack. So yeah, I really enjoyed this week's episode.
Definitely, and Martin as well, slow burner, but loving it. And this is it. I've got someone else that's been messaging me as well, saying that comparing a lot to Blade Runner 2049, which is a really interesting comparison I hadn't thought of, and there's a lot actually to compare to that. So I need to catch up with that chat, because you only get the preview text. I'm like, I can't open this yet. But aside from that, yeah, let's it's difficult doing these. I mean, listen, Dave, you kind of said that, didn't you, that normally we'd jump in and we'd have this. If this was a normal Mando episode, this would have been a week. Like the day in the life of Mando, chapter 1, the heist. So I'm just going to give some initial thoughts before I get into the Mon Mothma stuff, but I'm loving that we're just not even building character development. They're taking their time. They're being patient. We're getting to learn more about characters. We're getting to meet characters. It's not like, oh, look at this geezer, pops up, goes away, comes back. Oh, he's going to be a rough one. They're developing even minor characters that don't need to be developed. And I think I'm just going to say this off the bat. I'm absolutely loving the Gilroys in charge of this. I remember before the series started, again, with 5 episodes in, this could all go wrong in the next 7 weeks. I remember sort of saying that I don't know how, I don't want to big this up too much, but I was starting to get a lot of hype based off what the cast was saying. And now we're starting to see it. And they're like, okay, the cast sort of nailed the press for this, that this is about us following his characters and all the credit has to go to the writing. And I'm just going to say, I don't want to dish on other Marvel, not Marvel, Christ almighty. I don't want to dish on other Star Wars stuff, that you can see a clear differentiation in the writing. And you know how we used to joke saying, and this isn't a slight on Kenobi, because I love Kenobi. If anyone's curious where the poster's gone, it's packed up for a convention this weekend. Just in case, like, oh look, he hates Kenobi, he took his poster down. No, mate, it's in the box. It's one of them where it does make me think, like, you remember when we used to all joke saying, I'd love to get 6 hours of Obi-Wan depressed in the desert. I think Tony Gore would have given us 6 hours of Obi-Wan depressed in the desert, and it would have been fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
So again, this isn't a slate on Obi-Wan or other stuff. What I will say with this, and I'm going to revisit this statement upon the season finale, I hope that this convinces Star Wars to go down this storytelling route in the future. There is opportunity for multiple ways of storytelling. There's nothing wrong with how we've had Mandalorian, episodic weekly adventures. And I'm loving this 3-arc structure that we're going to have with Andor, which have we had that TV before? Where we get like 3-episode arcs and it's repetitive arcs?
Not in Star Wars. We've had it in other bits and pieces, but not in Star Wars.
Maybe in Clone Wars animation, but not like... That was sort of it, really, short form.
That was 4 episodes here and there. Here was a story arc for that, but it was much more being in the cartoon or animated kind of medium. It's not so much the story; it's also the picture that goes along with it, and that's not detracting from what they did. There's some amazing, the Umbaran arc, especially being my favorite from the Clone Wars. Even the Mortis trilogy, which I bag on, was still its own individual story. It was told, it was written, it was done in that containment, but for live action, no. And this, unfortunately for me, pushes Boba Fett even further down my list. I like it, but it's just Andor is showing what could have been and should have been done for Boba Fett. Boba Fett should have been, here is 3 episodes of the flashbacks. Could have been, here's 3 episodes of what happened between Jedi and where we meet Boba now. Then you could have had the rest of it be, here is him becoming the Gotra, here's him taking over, here is his Rancor and all that kind of stuff. Cut out the Mando season 3 part, and you could have had a much better Boba Fett show. And that's without me actually bagging. I like what they do with Boba Fett, but Andor for me is now showing how it could have been better.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that, isn't it? Because I guess with Boba Fett, because it was the Mandalorian vibe, wasn't it? That it's the same showrunners, and it was very much taking a part of the Mandoverse. I mean, I don't know if there's an official term, but I think everyone just calls it the Mandoverse now, which is fine as well. And it is interesting. It does make me sort of curious for Ahsoka. I think that would be more like Mandalorian, and not to be the guy that's going to say it, but this is a British production, and you can just tell again from just this episode alone. The patience, and I was thinking this, I haven't shown it to my dad yet. I think he's going to really enjoy this series. I just literally haven't had time. And it feels like this could be a BBC One drama. I don't watch a lot of dramas, but the structure, the patience, the build-up, the writing, this is so fundamentally a British series, and I love the fact this is in Star Wars. I'm going to call it brave, not like stunning and brave, but like it's brave storytelling for the series in which anyone does anything different, all the knives come out. I'm really glad that this is also being like not welcomed, but it's sort of received in open arms. That I think even some of the harshest critics are probably saying, you know what, this is working. And I think more importantly than what's working is they've picked the right character. That Andor, the espionage film, the heist film in Rogue One, the sort of dirtier side of the galaxy in a timeline, and an individual that's took a distinct career path, calling it a career path. But yeah, it's really exciting. But what we'll do, if this week hasn't been dreadful enough, not Bond stuff, just the real world stuff, we're going to talk about Mon Mothma, because we're going to kickstart her arc. Obviously, we only get 2 scenes with her, but we can't escape politics, can we, guys? Not anymore. I haven't talked about the crushing deficit that the galactic credit has gone through. I'm sure it's been stifled as well, thanks to the UK economics. But I'm just going to follow up saying that I'd honestly I'd spend a day just chilling with their family. They're dysfunctional.
Well, maybe not with them all, not together.
Apparently, I don't know if Phil, you might know more than me, but there's a report going around that Mon Mothma, like canonically, I think Genevieve Ryder said in an interview that she had a child and a husband, and everyone was like, "What? When?" And now we've seen the daughter in this episode, who last week's prediction of that husband's going to die. We can just add the daughter in now as well, and it probably will happen. Not even me saying I dislike them. This is all going to build up to some horrific political, like murder cover-up type storyline.
Once again, I recommend Bloodline. For those of you who haven't read it, trust me on this one. It's cracking, but it's the political thriller, but it does give you more of a story on Mon Mothma.
As long as the daughter and the husband just like don't go down a tunnel in Paris and it's like, oh god, the CCTV's turned off for the night. Sorry to be that guy, but it's a fact. But segueing over to you two. What?
Suddenly,
would you rule it out with the Empire? Is that not the sort of thing they would do? I think they would.
It is the sort of thing they would do, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Ironically, we're by Buckingham Palace yesterday. Like my parents went to pay respects, and I was just there saying, "Come out, Prince Andrew, wherever you are." Obviously, didn't get arrested because I didn't say it loudly. But keeping things back on track, I'm going to hand over to Dave because I keep talking. I don't want to get in more trouble. The Mon Mothma again, because there's only 2 scenes, but we're going to build up to her because we're going to Andor's the main event for this week, which is great because it's his series. But we're going to talk about the other storylines first.
I think it was. We thought it was dysfunctional last time we saw him. We had that little scene with her husband being an absolute tool. Turns out her daughter also a tool. But I know maybe she's just being that teenager rebellious. She's got a favorite parent who does what she wants and doesn't force her to go to whatever Mon Mothma wanted to go to show her off. They didn't kind of elaborate on what that was that she was trying to get to. I was hoping just the Senate building, and that's where we were going, but we weren't apparently. But yeah, the just this house full of tension, and they don't even know what she's doing. And I think her daughter said at one point, "You're just making it about yourself, like trying to make it like you're some part of it." Like, oh, and she said like, well, I said that really hurt. And she said, "Look, there you're making it about you again." It's like, oh, you know what? I want you to be really maimed badly by a TIE fighter. It's just like the husband as well, again, with the driver of the car. Like, he knows his name, but your driver says no name. Later on, what's his name again? Oh, awful people. Awful people. Mon Mothma seems like she's stuck in not only the same situation she's got at home, but she's got that in the Senate as well, no doubt, when we get there. It's just this big overarching thing for her where she's just under this grey cloud all the time of like, oh, she needs to start the rebellion and get out of there. But, I loved seeing these scenes. I thought they were really well done. I loved being back in the car, just flying through Coruscant. I thought it was really nice just to see just a couple of buildings behind them that were very old Coruscant-esque from the prequel trilogy. So I thought they were really well done scenes. But just felt for Mon Mothma.
Yeah, and to add on to that, it's when you get to Rogue One and you see that they've gone to Scarif, she has that smirk on her face of, finally, now we're getting somewhere kind of thing. And she plays the political game because she has to, but it's almost that she has the same situation at home that she does at work. You can't be benevolent and be omnipotent at the same time. You have to split your time up, and she's choosing to put her work first because she's doing it for what she believes are the right reasons for the right people. Now, we don't know much about Chandrila canonically, to be honest. There's not a huge amount that's out there, but we know that's what she's Senator, what she represents. And I'm interested to see, of course, where this goes with the Senate itself. The family, I can't remember the name of the dad, but he is, as you say, is an absolute tool. The daughter, I actually agree more with the moody teenager side of it, of the I want my mum, not my senator. And that's kind of where she's at, is you're not being the parental figure I need you to be. You're just using me for your own gain. I can see why you're doing it. I understand it, but because I understand it, I don't like it. And the dad's just sat there going, see, I'm right, and playing against each other. And it's all, he has that vibe of house husband that he comes second and he does. That's always, the job's always first, which is why when you have from last week's episode, the whole bit with the dinner, it's him needling away going, well, look, you're boring. I'm going to have fun with these people. Yes, I know you don't like them, but they are fun. And I want to have fun and you're not fun. And it's a dysfunctional family, and you wonder if it's a family in name only. There's a lot that goes on there. And I wonder if he'll end up being an Imperial spy against her because he's so sick and tired of the way that he's belittled and treated, or ignored, however you want to perceive that. Mon Mothma herself, Genevieve O'Reilly, is Mon Mothma to me. I can't remember the name of the actress who played her in Return of the
Caroline
Jedi.
Beeston.
That's the one. She, of course, was the original, but where you only have her for one film, and it's not even for that long of it. Genevieve O'Reilly, of course, we had her for Revenge of the Sith. For those of you who've seen the deleted scene, if you haven't, it's well worth a watch. It doesn't detract from the film or adds to the film in a huge amount of ways. It's just a good introduction to the character, what she did in Rogue One, what she's done in Rebels, what she's now done here. She's made that her character, and I think she's done a fantastic job with it. And then talk about Mon Mothma. My favorite scene from Mon Mothma wasn't actually the house; it was the car, because where you have this very dysfunctional bit, as you're saying, about the driver, and the husband basically goes, "Get a shortcut home, will you?" Because he's fed up of what the conversation. She's going, "Oh, it went wonderfully well, don't you think?" And he's just like, "If you say so." It's a very, she's fighting for what she feels is right and what she believes is true. And she's missing the most important thing in the world to her, which is her family. She believes she's doing the best for them whilst ignoring them. And I think that will come back and bite her in the ass.
It wasn't a political marriage, like when she was like 16 or something. Like, I'm pretty sure these details are out now. And that's what I find really fascinating. Obviously, I know they can't, and this is what I really respect about the Gilroys. They're not going to waste time talking about, please do this disrespectfully, Phil, but he said it isn't. He's not in for Easter eggs. And then he wouldn't be like, well, this book says X, Y, Z. He'd be like, yeah, well, you can tell me this and I'll include it, but I won't dawn on it. And I think that's what he's doing with this, is that he's got that prior info that she had a political marriage at 16. Rather than tell us she had a political marriage, we're now spending time with them in this failing marriage. And I think that's what I think makes it feel more real. And a character I forgot to actually put in the story as well, actually. Oh my God, how have I forgotten his name? The one that always looks like Sam Witwer, who I absolutely love. It's not Cyril, is it? Yeah, it is Cyril. Let's talk about Cyril. Guys, Cyril in Star Wars is now canon. Discuss.
It's Nesquik. It's the little fucking balls, isn't it? Sorry, Shash, but your own swear.
It is. They put like a bit of green dye on them, haven't they?
Yeah, with blue milk.
Lashings of blue milk and a child's spoon in a child's bowl, like he's being told off by his mum for being a terrible person. Again,
Were
another
they-
dysfunctional family that you just all across these storylines. He's got a dysfunctional family. Mon Mothma's got it. Andor with his new group again is another dysfunctional family. So it's like all across the same story, things are sort of happening just on different scales. But yeah, it's all this just dysfunction amongst all of them.
Not only that, but I think it's playing on the stereotypical American Italian mobster style family, where it's like, you have failed in your legitimate job. Now you're going to listen to your uncle. Like, he wasn't happy that I'd made the phone call, but I've made the phone call anyway, and you will go into the family business, whatever the family business is, being waste disposal.
I want to be a hut.
and this is what I love is that a lot of people are drawing attention online to the scene the scene that's sat at the table, and the camera shot is just literally them two sat at a table. To the ordinary person, it wouldn't look like a perfect shot or anything. I'm not into that sort of conversation of what's the perfect shot, what isn't. But it's so in category not Star Wars. It's what we're going back to. It's like a real drama. These are real sets. You've got a legend of stage acting, Catherine Hunter playing the role of his mother, who is giving him the dressing down. And there's something about it that just adds credibility. And I feel, again, what we say every week, and I'm bored of saying it, and this isn't a sight to any Americans watching, I'm sorry. Sorry, I'm laughing because we for a chat before about the Americanization of sport. But it doesn't sound like an SNL side cast member popping on for a day. Like, oh, look, here's a role. Hey, get the SNL guys on. These are like proper stage actors.
The uncle is, I can't remember the name of the guy who plays Tony from The Sopranos, but if he pops up being the uncle, I wouldn't be surprised.
But and this is the stuff I was thinking of. Like, we're getting this subplot story, and I've said this from the beginning. I know Phil, you're not as much a fan. I love Cyril. I love him from the spot. He's such a pathetic weasel, and that's why he's so great in my estimation. That I love these characters that are so unhinged that they're just batshit because all they do is try and create status for themselves. And they're the sort of some of my favorite ones that, I've always said, I always love a good villain. I love a psychotic villain. I love an over-the-top villain. But a raging, he's clearly intelligent. Although he cocked up on the battlefield, he's clearly got the brains for it. He just made one hell of a mistake on that day. And I love the fact it ends with just him staring at the Andor stuff, which, again, to me is like, we're really going to get something set up now. And I've got ideas about where next week might go. I think it will feed into the third arc of the series, where we're probably going to get to see storylines start crossing over one another. But I'm just loving him, and it's just the fact he's at home, and even like the other thing, like when Andor's like they're in a forest, they're drinking like coffee, and I'm just there like, it's about time Star Wars started incorporating real life things. Like, you got the ice cream machine, obviously from Mando.
Kath has been in Star Wars for decades, but it's good
but
to see.
Literally having an actual it's literally a canister, isn't it? Like, it's designed to be. Tony Gilroy's like, no, this is going to be a coffee, guys. Just go make it a Star Wars designed coffee cup or something. And I love that it's not embracing modern day, but it feels like a mindset to Tony Gilroy. Like, listen, I'm doing a scene with these things, and they've not been in Star Wars before, but it doesn't matter. It's going to be in Star Wars. Even all the conversation before, I know it's sort of irrelevant, was the whole. I remember before the series came out, they did interviews like, oh yeah, sex is in Andor. Obviously, everyone knows not going to actually have sex on screen. It's not like Game of Thrones. But when obviously the couple were together, loads of people were like, this isn't right. And I was like, Dave's got a fair point with the swearing in Star Wars, because that was brought up and that was very different. But it feels, again, this time going back to that BBC drama vibe, isn't it? It feels so real. And I think there's something about it that's really working right now.
So I've got a
right now.
word for you. I want to see if you both feel it as well. Does this not to you feel a bit more grown up?
Mature. I think mature is the one they're going with. I think so. I'm going to be blunt. I mean, Dave, I know your dad wouldn't have watched it yet, but I can't imagine a 4-year-old enjoying this series at the moment. That is not a problem. We always have the conversation, Star Wars caters to everyone. We're adults, and we love the kids' shows that are animated called Clone Wars. So much so, they literally sort of end up making them for adults at the same time. And
Resistance is aimed at kids. This is definitely
and we know it's
not.
For kids. And this is where I kind of am, that as long as they're crystal clear, and again, Tony Gilroy is not messing around. He's not here to sell toys, to sell stuff. He says, I'm here to tell a story. This is the story I'm telling. And I feel that this is the most blatant it's ever been in Star Wars. I know that, again, the ethos of Star Wars, it is
Why
for kids,
are you
and yes, it is
saying
for kids.
telling a story. All I got now is Andor sat on the chair from Fresh Prince, and now the intro is now just Andor saying, "This is the story of my life."
Work. And this is how I feel with it. They're not. I think if you're going to grow Lucasfilm, because we're hitting 10 years now this month of Lucasfilm owning Star Wars, is worth mentioning. Sorry, Disney owning Lucasfilm. Sorry. And we've always known it's a kids thing. George Lucas said, it's for kids. The prequel is for kids. We know that. I grew up with it. That's fine. But I like the fact they are catering for more people. Now, don't go wild. I hate this. Everything needs to be R-rated conversation. That's the most boring conversation I've ever seen on the internet, because that just shows people will just demand blood and sex, which you don't need in a show like this. No. But if you can craft a more adult, mature story like this series, it's going to be welcomed by people, and that's how I feel. I know this is really random tangent coming in the arc of Cyril eating cereal with his mum. But again, like, you never got that in any of the Star Wars projects. I'm just curious, Dave, over to you with that. Maybe how you find that scene, or what we're trying to get at here with the more adult theme stuff.
No, I definitely agree that it has got certainly a more mature theme, and I think because of the way it's not a fast-paced click the next scene, let's get the next action beat now, let's get the few pages, let another action beat, so it keeps people interested. And I just think that you're right. If my son sat down, I don't think he'd have the interest in Andor as he would in watching the prequels and things like that, where it is all based on sort of a few pages. Now we'll have an action beat, and now we'll have something, and now there's lightsabers, and now there's some ships are flying and battling each other. Like we see with this episode, we got a car, and we got the one TIE fighter, which, don't get us wrong, the scene with the TIE fighter for me was exceptionally done and did what it was supposed to. Like, they should fear a Soul TIE fighter when it flies over them. But yeah, it's definitely the slowing down of telling the story has changed the feel and outlook. And I say, yes, the swearing for me, some of it, it was the one word, the word shit was the one that really caught me off guard. Like, oh, that's not Star Wars. Because I think Bastard's been said a few times. It's in Rise of Skywalker. It's Finn says it, so it has its precedence in that. But when he went, oh shit, I was like, oh, that just took me out, like, just for a second, and I was back. But it was fine. But yeah, so it's certainly taking a more mature tone, and it's maybe, like you say, it's nice to get a series that's maybe not so much. Look, Star Wars always, like you said, has always been aimed at children, give kids hope, and watch these stories. I think Filoni said in his 10-minute sort of speech about the saga, George wanted to give kids hope, and that's just not this story. Now they are getting new writers and people who don't have that feel for, like, yes, these are still characters created by Lucas, but based on stories by Lucas. Obviously didn't have that in Rogue One, but so yeah, they're now taking them in their own direction and say, well, that's not really the story that these characters are going to tell. We know where they're going, so we're going to tell this story, and it's accepted how it's accepted. And I think that's really, really, it's a good way to grow an audience that will maybe becoming a bit tired of the same thing over and over again.
Phil?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So I was leaving it for Dave more because I've said my piece on it and put it to you guys about it being that more mature. And I really appreciate it, because Star Wars, when you come to the books and the comic side of things, you have books that are aimed at different reading levels. So you have some that are for mature adults, you have some that are for young readers, you have some that's in the middle. It's not the fact the stories and the Star Wars universe is changing, it's just the way it's written is changed. That's all it is. The stories themselves all interlink. You can read all of them and you'll still be just as enthralled. A big part of that for me, for example, is the High Republic at the moment. I've been really into that. Not everybody is. I know you two aren't, and that's fine. Everyone has their set pieces, but there's some that are young adult novels that are fantastically written, but they aren't as dangerous as the older adult novels, which do include a lot more pulling on the heartstrings and emotional trauma, for lack of a better word. Andor is doing that for TV, where it's uncharted territory. Star Wars hasn't really gone down the road of, we are now telling you a gritty story, apart from Rogue One, which is the base template for Andor. And it's that same thing. And again, I agree with what you're saying, and we mean no disrespect, but it is a British production, and it's a British style of writing. And America was built off hope. It's in their national anthem, although written by a British person, is all about that. You know, it's the hope. It's the the next light of the day. You see the brand new dawn. You're there. We've managed to get through it all. That's what America's built off of hope and freedom. And although they might get it wrong, that's kind of their whole outlook on things. And Lucas did that when he wrote the original trilogy. Whereas over here, we've had thousands of years of oppression and randomness and other people, and it's been an island of mishmash. And it's always been, if you look at sort of like BBC One dramas, it's all about grit and realism. Things like Luther, for example, and bits and pieces. If you look at Holmes, Sherlock Holmes, we got the newer series Sherlock. Again, the writing has changed. It's evolved over the years, but it's that more mature, more gritty theme. You have that with Andor, and I think it's fantastic. Compared to what we've seen, if the Mandoverse is bright and shiny, to quote then Luke, well, if that's the right center of the universe, you're on the rock that's farthest from. This is Andor. It's still Star Wars, but it's just different and not in a bad way. And I've really enjoyed it. But we are kind of prattling on a little bit and probably should crack on to the next bit.
No, I'm just going to bring up some more stuff with it, so I don't mind talking about this longer. We've got a great comment by Martin where we agree this is a slow burner, we're loving it. Are we in the minority to enjoy the slow pace? I think most people are. I've not really seen anything negative. What I would say about this series, I don't think it's pulling in the viewing numbers the shows are. I think that is nothing to do with the quality of the episodes. It is purely because it's a spin-off prequel series about a character that died in Rogue One. So I'm very curious. Again, following it is quite enjoying, and I think because this isn't a series where it's all about let's live tweet it, let's get this still out, let's get that still out, let's see this person, let's stand this and stand that. Because it's so devoid from all of that, I don't think this has the clickbait nature that a lot of other Star Wars shows do have. There's nothing for you to scream and shout and cry about. I'm sure people will find a way somewhere, though. And there's also nothing for you to sit there and say, look what I've leaked, look what I've seen, can click on this because I've got these. It's really unique, but I'm curious. I'm very curious. Again, the problem with streaming services is that we can't see numbers. We only know the Nielsen chart, which only covers America like a month after it happens. So I don't think we're in a minority of mine, but again, I'd say watching it, maybe we are in a minority. I believe She-Hulk is currently beating all of them in the ratings, which is strange. House Dragon's beating everyone. I think it's House Dragon, then She-Hulk, then Lord of the Rings, then this, which isn't surprising. I've not seen any of She-Hulk yet.
Neither have I, or Lord of the Rings. But
Lord of the Rings, I've seen the first 4 episodes. I think it's fine so far, but there's just too many clowns on the internet. You shouldn't really be talking about stuff when they are. Hashtag not my Star Wars. But Lord of the Rings aside, we will be having a spoiler review, by the way, on Lord of the Rings Season 1 and House Dragon when they're both done. It's just very busy on the channel at the moment, so we couldn't commit to it weekly, unlike Andor. But anyway, let's get kicking with Luthen. Again, one scene with Luthen, end of the series, end of the episode. I'm just going to say it. I sort of joke saying, there's nothing you can spot. There's nothing to click about. We did get the rocks from Temple of Doom, though, which I saw on the shelf. I was like, interesting. Disney's now selling these at Disneyland, and now they appear in an episode of Andor. Listen, it's a lovely Easter egg. There's a Sith holocron. There's a Jedi... oh god, what are they called? The Jedi squares.
It's a holocron. They're both holocrons, so.
Both holocrons, great. There wasn't a Sith Wayfinder, I didn't see any Wayfinders in there.
To be fair, there's only 2 of those in existence.
Well, 2 of those ones that we know of. There might be other Wayfinders, they just don't want to call it a holocron. So we've been blessed there. The only question I have, which is maybe a logistical, surely the Empire would have took all of this? Like, not to be that guy. But like artifacts, I didn't think they'd let go on the. It's not even a black market, is it, guys? This is like the elite market. This is the. Listen, guys, if we've pillaged it off the other museums and less fortunate galaxies, you sure find out we'll sell it here. Just quickly thought to that. There wasn't. Again, it was a very low key scene, and if you could look at the scope of say sentence, you could argue nothing happened. But what we got was an insane amount of character development with Luthen's fear for the team and his assistant. I keep forgetting her name. Who is clearly, this series you can't judge her. Can we trust them? Can we not? Right now, I trust her. She's clearly an ally of Luthen's. But
I think, is it not his wife? I thought it was his wife.
I thought it was an assistant. It could be. I don't know. I'm sorry.
I don't think it's been said, but I don't know if it's because of wife vibes to me. One of those things. He seems held down by She's not listening. It's fine. No, I think it was a really nice. I love the fact he was stood, just trying to get a signal so he can hear anything. He wants to hear the moment it comes through that someone's robbed the Empire. So he's just waiting on that signal going through. And the fact he says, "I'm just going to listen for a minute," and she says, "You said that an hour ago." She's just sitting listening to static as well. There's nothing coming through at all, but he knows as well it hasn't taken place, but it's going to happen very soon. It was just really subtle, seeing that he's there and he's concerned about his part in this, and knowing, like they said, if you've got your bags, if you've got your stuff ready to go, if we need to get out of here, if you've got stuff that we can we're on a ship and we're out of here before anything happens. So it's just really nicely played, very low key scene, and really nice way to sort of round out the episode before we left. And I thought it was great, and it's always good to see Luthen back on our screens. So I can't wait to see what else he's got in that Antiquities place. But you're right, it's strange that he has got all this stuff that you would think would be rounded up by the Empire very quickly. In regards, the end, it's like, oh, just a Sith holocron. Don't worry about that, Emperor. Maybe he's got a high class shop that they don't talk about. There's a back door from the world between worlds just behind him. You can come through and get what you want.
You had to ruin it, didn't you?
It's great. I'm with Dave on this. It's something in Coruscant, man. Like that's like having an auction at Christie's, and the Royal Family being, hold on, what's going on here? Earl of Snowdon runs it.
No, it doesn't surprise me purely because, right, the storefront is your high market items. These have been, they could have been a museum, but instead they've been bought by private collectors. They are items of non-interest to the Empire. They are just kind of, they've been looked at, gone, we don't care. We've either got what we need out of it, or it's just it doesn't really serve a purpose. The behind closed doors, the actual backroom, that is where the Empire's interest would lie. If these are a Sith and Jedi holocron, then yes, I do wonder how the hell they've got those, and the Emperor hasn't come along. Inquisitor hasn't barged through the door going, yes, we need these. But again, it's one of those things. It doesn't surprise me purely because although behind every legitimate market ends up being a sort of either black market or the higher brow, which is we've paid enough people off that we can get away with selling this. People are getting something on the side to make sure that we can make our business. We know we're selling a lot of money doing this. What's behind those doors is worth millions of credits potentially. Someone somewhere has taken a cut to go. It's the Empire. Everyone. Absolute power corrupts absolutely, and money talks. So it's a lot of. You would be surprised, but at the same time, when we haven't talked about this, but going back to the ISB, we had that scene later on where it's the report where it's like it's too perfect. That everything's there and it shouldn't be. There's something not quite right, but they're not going to tell you because they're scared of it, kind of thing. That either the Rebel Alliance or someone somewhere is pilfering something, or some Imperial's been paid off. They can't prove it because the report is too perfect. Yeah. But at the same time, they can. It's that same level when it comes down to this, which I love that we haven't actually put it in the schedules to talk about, but I do want to talk about that scene because it plays off against Cyril. Cyril sat there going, I've got myself out of my job. Now where do I go? What do I do? As long as he doesn't become a rebel, I'm fine with it. I like the character. If he becomes a rebel, I'm like, it's a trope that's done too much, but that's my personal opinion. It's reflected in the ISB going, okay, something has gone wrong here. Now we're going to do the right way about fixing it, which then when we talk about Andor later, this is where all those pathways are going to cross over, is because, well, the lieutenant on the inside is making sure nobody's around for the night, even going so far as to go, look, this has to be done, but I tell you what, if I do give you the night off, make sure it's done by then. So he's then playing his own people against themselves, like him even realizing, going, we've managed to get a win here. No, you're conveniently out the way. It's done really well. So these were those storylines will cross over, because at some point someone's going to go, hang on a second, whatever's missing from this ship is gone. What was important? What was taken? The ISP will notice because the job's been done wrong. The Cyril will go, hang on a second, here's my way of getting back in good with the Empire. Andor gets what he needs out of it. Luthen gets what he needs out of it. That's why I see this going. So the Luthen part I really enjoyed, and his assistant, his wife, whatever it is, she played that part perfectly to a T. Like the daughter did with Mon Mothma, she is the antithesis here to him. We're going, look, You're listening to static. I get it. They can't trace it back to you apart from Andor, and you brought him in, so it's on your head, be it. However, we are all good. Everything is packed. Everything is sold. Everything is how it should be. If you've done your part correctly, then we're all good. And if you trust him, and I do, I trust them, then we are golden. If not, well, we run. But stop your dithering, put the thing away, clear up the rest of the shop. We got the rest of the day to get on with. So I thought she was done perfectly. And again, Stellan Skarsgård as Luthen is doing a fantastic job, and that wig is looking like properly done. It's amazing.
Yes, sorry, there's a lot to take there. And I had a shout out to a mild lecturer who's watching, who texted me that. What I want to talk about, moving on with Luthen, you mentioned we've got some scheming forming. We're going to talk about what we think is going to happen next at the end of this, because I think we're all on the same plan. I think we know there's certain villains are going to team up, which is going to be fantastic. We're going to see some people fail, some people win. And even the little things, I forgot the name of the guy who's took over Cassian's, not home planet, but current planet. And he's like, that hotel, yeah, that'd make a great base for us. I love the Empire, things like that. It's a subtle one line, but we know they can do it.
I also love the, can I be a prefect?
Yeah. And like, again, do they get prefects in America? I know that's a very much a school thing for us here, but is that a thing over there? I don't know. And
no idea.
It's excellent. He goes, oh, I know there's not an increase in pay. I just like the title. And the thing is, things like that.
No, because in America it would have been, can I be an executive? That's the way it is.
But if we talk about Andor, God, how do we even start this? So we know they're prepping for the heist. Sorry, I keep calling it siege. It's a heist. Didn't expect to get this much tension, this much time with them. I was like, okay, we're probably going to get the main thing today. But what I loved is we just spent 2 days with them rehearsing. How many years have we watched Star Wars, guys? Have you ever thought about what it's like to rehearse marching as a stormtrooper? And I was just, even I was taken aback, like, well, what's going on here? I'm just going to summarize my thoughts and let you guys talk, and I'm going to jump in, so I've got to really quickly reply to something. I loved this segment. This segment is the main arc of the episode, but we got to learn so much more about the other people, and it builds character and it builds tension. And hey, it might all go wrong next week. We'll have a mini Rogue One and have no one but him get out alive, and they'd set everything up perfectly. So I'm both curious to hear your thoughts, and I'm listening. I'm not being rude. I am just replying to something.
I think it was very well done from the moment that we kind of started with him when he woke up and realized his bag was gone and that his weapons had been removed. It started immediately with that tension. The guy's name Scree, I want to say. The guy who has
skills.
I can't remember.
Something like that.
It's one of those things with Star Wars where you'll get introduced to new names and it'll take a while for them to actually click in and be the names you just know. But yeah, so there's that tension immediately. Even when he's being sort of trained and he's getting you need to be a soldier, so you need to straighten him. He's like, don't touch me. Tell what you want and I'll do it. It was really well done. I do fear for the nerdy model builder guy out of the group. I think if anybody goes in the heist, it might be him. He seems overly keen and he's writing his political speeches. And I just think, oh, you're giving us too much. You're giving us way too much for us to care about you as he's the really nice one. No way he's getting out of this without a scratch. He's got too much in it. He's got too much hope is what he's got. He's literally got too much of the Star Wars about him. I've got too much hope. And I do think he might be the one they'll sacrifice out of any of that group because he's the one that probably means the most to the audience who are watching other than Ant and Cassian himself. You've kind of grown to like him more than any of the others, even like Vel, who's got whatever she's got going on. It was a really, really nice build. I love that we got to be around the group as they just like the setup that they had, the build up of we're doing this and this is laid out this way and we've got it all perfectly mapped out on the ground. This is a tower here. This is a tower here. This is definitely 28 meters, but it's pitched slightly differently. I also love that they didn't have any idea how they were going to fly that ship out of the actual. Once they get in there, they didn't know how the ship worked. The casting that was a test where it was like, you don't know how to fly the ship out. You've got to pull this lever to even get the weight thing that you need. They're like, right, okay. He's like, I'm flying the ship. So it's him now taking also a front seat. Like his role's become much greater than it was. He was a backup for what they needed. Now he's like, no, I'm going to fly the ship out of here. There's no way you are going to do it because you'll do it wrong. We'll all be dead. But I just thought it was I loved the whole journey that we got with them, and we're heading towards them moving on towards the heist. They've given the signal to the guy on the inside to say they're there, just over the hill. So we're on the verge of it happening. So I'm guessing next episode or 2 is when we will get the main thing happening. Probably next episode, I would have thought. But yeah, I loved the Andor arc of this story. I thought it was really, really interesting.
Yeah, so I'm going to add on to that. I'm not going to talk about what you just talked about, David. I'm going to add on to it with a couple of different notes. So one of the things I loved was talk about the Stormtrooper marching was he pointed out, well, wait, he's left-handed. You need to trade places. Like, what do you mean? So, well, you always want your firearm on the outside. You two should swap. He goes, well, you're right-handed, you're right-handed, you're right-handed, you're left-handed. This one, the nerdy one's like, he shoots right-handed.
Got a preference for right, but shoots left.
Lefty.
Yeah.
That's it, yeah. So it's a very much that, there you go. Look, I know what I'm talking about here. I've been paid for a reason, and that's the second part I was going to bring on. The fact was the motivation. Now, the guy, I can't remember his name. Again, it's that whole new Star Wars name is brand new. I haven't been able to take notes and things. Where he's just going, well, I don't trust you, and now I have the reason why. This is a Sky Kyber crystal. This is worth 30 grand. What the hell are you doing with this? And what are you doing here? And he's like, okay, now it's motivation time. I'm here because I have been paid. And I'm sorry, you should have all been told, but yes, I'm here because I have been paid. I've been here to do a job, and I'm going to do it well. And if you want to live, well, you got to trust me. And he puts it out there. He puts himself going, all right, you know what? Instead of hiding, I'm actually going to tell you the truth because the truth is better than the lie. So at this point, he's made a very conscious and very smart decision to go, I am more invested in this than I thought. I'm curious to see why I've been brought on in the first place, and I want to get out of here to be able to do it. Now, of course, we know that he lives. We know this as an audience member. He himself doesn't know this yet. He doesn't know he's getting out of this alive. He doesn't know why he's been brought on. We'll find out why. So by the time he gets Rogue One, we really feel it when he does snuff it at the end. In what I still think is one of the best moments in Star Wars, where him and Jin just hug at the end. There doesn't need to be any romance. It's just well, I'm glad I got someone to die with kind of feeling. It didn't need to be anything more than that. It's a really nicely tasteful way to end their characters before you get to the Darth Vader butchery, which is still my favorite moment from Rogue One, and that will never change. But getting back to Andor, he doesn't know this. His character doesn't know that he's going to live. All he knows is he wants to live. And if he wants to live, he's then got to tell the truth, which is why then you have the other guy come up to afterwards and go, okay, yeah, well, I've had my own family members die because of the Empire. That's the reason why I'm in it. If you tell me your motivation, I'll tell you mine. We've all got our own. However, if we're going to do this, we might as well do this properly. And by the time you get to the end of the episode, you really do feel that the arc is now set up for them for this heist. And again, I go back to what you're saying about the ship. Well, he goes, well, yeah, no wonder I'm here. You guys are useless without me. I can fly. That's not a problem. And there's still stuff. There's still bits in the trailers. Now, usually for a Star Wars show, Marvel show, whatever Disney Plus has been putting out, all the shots from the trailers are in the first few episodes.
Yeah.
This really hasn't been the case with Andor.
Yeah.
Like, where are my clone troopers? Haven't had those yet. They're coming. There's bits from space. Again, we haven't seen that yet. The Senate, we haven't had that yet. So for the first time in what feels actually genuinely for the first time, there's bits coming that we don't know about, but we know are happening. It's a very weird but good thing. I don't like the fact that usually it's here you go, here's the trailer, here's your first 3 episodes, and then we're banking on you to then watch the rest because of what we've done. The trailer this time around's gone, nope, there's more to come from this. You just have to be patient, and I really like that. So yeah, to add on to what you're saying, Dave, I agree with it all, but also the very specifics of the gun placement and training, the actual I need to fly it, and the actual motivation, perfectly done. And I think that not only is Diego Luna fantastic in this, each individual cast member, apart from, I can't remember her name, not Vale, the other one, who hasn't said an awful lot yet, have played their parts really well. And the reason I'm saying she hasn't, though, because, well, she hasn't said much. So there's not been much to go on. but they feel like they're coming together. And that's what I was saying earlier about all the storylines crossing up. It's like, hang on a second, this is greater than the sum of its parts, but the sum of its parts is so important that we're getting proper development. Rest of Star Wars, rest of Disney Plus, pay attention to this. This is how we like it. Actual plot development. It's great to see.
And kind of jumping in, it's what benefits TV. This is a long form story. And listen, I love the whole six. This is a movie, but it's 6 episodes. Great. But you do lose a lot of quality by having a mini series. But having patience, taking its time. This could easily be a 6-episode mini series because we'd have had probably 2 by now. These first 2 acts would be 2 episodes. Plain and simple, 50 minutes each.
Not easily, yeah.
And this is what I'm enjoying, that you should take the benefits of working on television and explore characters, explore themes, ideologies, what is right, what isn't. As you said earlier, Dave, as well. That character, the nice one with the manifesto, if he doesn't go boom, he's probably... I saw a great tweet, I can't remember who tweeted, so apologies. They compared him to Cyril, where they says we have the opposite spectrum. We've got this loser from the Empire that's so specific and has his formulated plan, and now one from the early days of the rebellion. It's really interesting that having these divides and these comparisons between so many characters. And I've got Martin saying, "Do you have to get reminded myself this is the rebellion in its embryonic stage?" And this is it. It's not a rebellion yet, and we're not far off. Season 2.
That little scene around the fire where it was like to the rebellion, like they're having just that drink around the fire. It was just like that. Just like this is literally the start of this. It's literally burning in front of them, ready to go. It's just so good that we're at this stage.
Yeah, we haven't even had season 1 yet.
Well, this is it. We know Saw's going to come. I think season 1's going to finish with them declaring. It won't be Mon Mothma's speech. I think that'll be season 2, unless I'm wrong. But I think it'll be season 2. I think we'll end with them formally announcing the rebellion between certain leaders, because you know how Sawgrass was in with them at the beginning. I think you'd have Luthen if he's still alive. You know, Cassian and probably a right-hand man somewhere. I think there's so much potential going on. And also, it makes me really excited for next week that I spent all of this episode thinking, where's the action? Oh, wonder how they're going to do the set piece next week. I was there, like, I was so taken in by what was happening. I didn't even come up with the concept that next week I haven't even tried to... normally we just sat there saying, like, yeah, this will happen, that will happen, this will happen. It was like that. I was like, yeah, I'm really taking this in. But the one thing I really have to bring up, which did jump me, is obviously, when we were with the Cassian scene, there was a fleeting moment where...
Blind! Deploy the garrison!
It's time, guys. The most cringiest segment yet that we'll keep going until we're done. It's a Krennic Watch. And the reason why we're doing Krennic Watch is because I still think I saw the Krennic mobile. They said somebody important's coming in from Coruscant. Why not have a man with a flowing white cape who we know would be involved at... What were those things? They look like petrol. They look like sort of tanker type things. Fuel.
At the end?
In the vaults. Yeah, the vault.
I'm guessing it's the payroll. Yeah, that's what they're trying to steal. So I'm guessing that's
when they say payroll. Do they mean? Right. Sorry, guys. When they've been saying payroll for 2 weeks, I thought it was just like a boring GDPR thing. Like they just wanted to nick the details of everyone in the Empire.
No, it's the actual payroll for a whole sector, didn't they say? A whole sector?
Payroll for an entire sector, which is like...
For a quarter.
Of credits. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ignore
something they could start a rebellion with.
Yeah, something,
so the question,
Gonna finance it
somehow.
Is it
Krennic?
It would be amazing if we just... Next week we just see a flowing cape going back up a landing and off it goes.
I think it's more likely to be someone like Tarkin.
Oh, you think you get Tarkin on TV? That's going to be expensive motion capture.
Guy Henry.
Guy Henry would be great, and he has done TV.
We saw what work they did with Hamill, though. If they've got the sign off for the likeness already, and they could replicate what they did with Luke
James Earl Jones now
season 2
with, the voice for Vader.
It's there. Yeah, it could well happen.
James Earl Jones, that was AI.
Yeah, that his whole voice was. But I'm just saying, like, I think now Gilroy said in interviews, we're not going to just have characters for character's sake, but if they are meant to be in that time frame and you should see them, you probably will see them crop up. So there is every chance that someone in that hierarchy at some point is going to turn up, especially if the heist goes well. I think we will then start to get to see higher up, above just the IMDb.
The ISB, yeah, the Imperial Security Bureau.
Yeah, the
But then
IBS.
from the
We're
Rebel-
dealing with it right now.
But then from the Rebel side,
there was a
do you
comment
think we
though.
could see Hera?
Maybe season
No.
2, not anything now.
No,
What's interesting?
because she's going to be in Ahsoka. I don't think so.
They teased that not Empire. You know, they said when you did that Great Oppression speech, which was too good for me to try and quote. I loved where he mentioned, said, what he sort of hints at something bigger could happen down the line. Like there's something else. It wasn't as blatant as there's a Death Star, there's a planet killer, but it was these seeds of what else could they be doing. I think they could flatten 40 areas and say it's an accident. And it's like they were sort of implying that they think something else will be happening. Now we know at present they are building a Death Star thanks to the Genosians, back all the way in 2002 and Attack of the Clones. So it's been a long-term project. We know thanks to Rogue One fixing some of those. It's not even a plot hole from Episode 4, but Rogue One just being Rogue One and saying this is why it took 19 years to do because they couldn't actually do it properly.
Although I'm also going to plug another fantastic book though, being Catalyst, because Catalyst explains why the actual flaw has been put in the first place. It's a fantastic book. It's basically the prologue for Rogue One. It's a brilliant book.
It would be one where I think if characters are going to come over again, Sawgrass, logistical sense, he's like the terrorist of the rebel. He is the extremist, whereas obviously Mon Mothma's the not pacifist, but she's the political side of it. Yeah. And you need those two in tandem with one another. And I think there is a place for. Listen, we're joking. This segment's kind of the anti. Doesn't this actually say about this series that I brought in a joke segment saying where's the cameo? Every week I come on and say how great is it? There's no cameos. So it's kind of like an anti-status, but it's one of them where I'm just in the right mindset to potentially see. If you're going to bring him in, I trust Tony Gilroy's got reasons to bring him in, to bring in other characters, and I think that's what leaves you the most excited. Leaving Krennic Watch though, because we're heading to the hour mark. I want to kind of jump to you all very quickly. What do you think will happen next week? Now, obviously, we know there's going to be a heist. It'll probably round out this episode arc. I'm not going to sit and predict who's going to die, what's going to die when. But what I'm really hoping is because of how good episode 3 was, where we'd had 2 episodes of build-up, and we had unique action set pieces with the chains dropping and going up. We had the locals setting up, bringing the intimidation tactics, had the ships going wrong. For its big action moment, it felt unique to its own individual story. Now we're in this isolated setting. It's a garrison. I really hope that we get something that just isn't like Rogue One, i.e. we're just storming a garrison. I'm really excited and to pay such attention to the Stormtroopers marching. I think means we're going to get not just them impersonating Imperials, obviously. I think there's going to be something really good. And the big tease is when they said the last person through has to close
Locks the door.
And that is going to be what is involved next week.
I just think, we're going to definitely going to see the heist next week. The only thing I don't know now is how well that heist is going to go. For some part of me, does not think they're going to get what they're going in there for. I think that's why they may then need to turn to someone like Saw Gerrera, who they need now to help level the playing field and bring his sort of warfare into it. Like so in the trailer, should we just call it war? And I think we might not get I don't think the heist is going to go as well as they hope it does, is my thought on it. I may be wrong, but I don't think it's going to go very well.
Yeah, I'm in two minds. I agree it could either go badly or it could go well, but with a hitch. It's not going to go perfectly, but I think that's all we'll see next week is the heist, because I think the next set of episodes will be the reaction to the heist. It will be from the Empire's point of view of, well, this was allowed to happen. Why was it allowed to happen? We've seen the chinks in the armor built up in the first few episodes between people who are complacent, getting fired and things, the ISB stepping in. I then think from the rebel side of things, go either this went well, we could do more, or this didn't go quite according to plan, or oh shit, this didn't go to plan at all. And it's the rebels' reaction. Then you have the Senate's reaction. And I think then the rest of the series will then be this is what's happening. The rebellion will go, we can learn from this. This didn't go well, but we can now do this. Or this went better than I thought. Now we can do this. People get braver, they get bolder, things then go wrong. Because we know that Rebel Alliance doesn't get its first major win until Rogue One. Well, that's still 5 years away. But they need to start somewhere, and this will be that start of something. This is a snowball. This is that catalyst. So I believe next week will pretty much just be Heist and then beginnings of reactions to it.
No, very well said. And I think with that, we'll head into final thoughts of this episode, because I'm a big fan of this. It's a slow burn. I love the term. Slow burn is a compliment, if I'm being honest. Just for people that are curious that it's not a slow burn, I think it's always been designed as a compliment structure. And I'm just excited at what we're learning about people. We're spending time with characters, we're spending time in the universe, we're seeing the advantages of TV. I'm going to be blunt and say we've probably not had this luxurious experience since being in PlayStation games, where you would be able to spend time because they've got to build an 18-hour game, long storytelling. And I'm very excited for next week, and I don't know what to expect. Maybe we'll get the dinner party next week, because we're still waiting on that. But final thoughts. Over to you both.
I just, again, this series has been really excellent, and I've enjoyed each episode I've seen, and it's getting me more and more intrigued and interested each episode we get through. This was another top end one for me. I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I've put a lot of my thoughts out there for this episode throughout tonight's show. I just think it's fantastically written, and it's one of those things of I didn't walk away going, I can't wait for next week in terms of, well, this was bad, but come on, where's my action? I was thinking, well, hang on a second, there's more to it. This was there's a lot to think about. So I'm looking forward to next week, but this episode was a lot of, in a good way. There's a lot of set pieces, so I'm really enjoying it.
Definitely. And we want to hear from everybody at home as well. Please do comment your thoughts on Andor. Again, it's been a very different episode today. Next week it's going to be very fired up. I cannot wait. There'll be more times. I know we're a bit later today. I know things are all over the place. I'm going to go over some of that in a moment. But please do let us know your thoughts. Hit that subscribe button if you're a fan of Star Wars or fan of this video. And maybe hit the like button. It does help us. It shows that people do enjoy the videos. And if you don't like it, hit that dislike button, because we do look into that sort of stuff as well. If you want to find us on social media, that's Twitter, Instagram, @cinema_savvy, Facebook, and airbus.com/cinemasavvy. Link to Redbubble in that description below. And it's going to be really weird coming up. So the London Film Festival started today. You might have seen we haven't posted anything. So we've been posting about James Bond. We don't know what we're doing at the moment, if I'm going to be absolutely honest. A lot of other stuff has come into personal lives and whatnot. So I'm not sure how much I'm seeing. Tate isn't sure how much he's seeing. We've got people over there at the festival who are watching stuff. But obviously, we're not going to have other people host videos if they've never done it before. Not you, Dave. Because I know we can let you host a video and we'll do it soon. So, anyone curious about new reviews? There is going to be some new reviews. It's been a very busy few weeks. There's a lot of busy stuff happening. Again, the Bond stuff has been at the forefront, if I'm being honest, the last month for me. So I'm having a lovely chill break for a few days. But any new videos, it goes up on our social media. That's why we say to go on there. And film festival stuff, if we have anything, we'll let you know. We're not plastering over our social feeds, which is really ironic considering we teased it for like 4 weeks in a row on Spielberg stuff recording in advance. So that looks a bit embarrassing now. But yes, more details. Again, Andor details next week. We've got Lincoln for the next Spielberg episode coming next Tuesday, because who doesn't love a story about American politics? It's 3.5 hours long, set in courtrooms. Hooray! And then hopefully after that, we'll move on to some more of his fun films. So, yes, lots of things happening. Very quick outro. 60th anniversary.
You say that with the irony we're looking forward to the Senate. You do realise the absolute palpable irony of that.
Yeah, but that's fictional. That's fictional settings, not Lincoln. Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening. There's been lots of stuff happening. Check out our Bond stuff. It's Bond Play. Enjoy yourself. Watch some James Bond films. They're all on Amazon as of today. There's a documentary that's incredible. There's a review on that. And the director tweeted saying he loved it, which I really appreciate. But yes, rounding out now. Thank you for watching. Both of you, as always, thank you for jumping and covering this. It's been a very weird day today. I've had to be checking my phone for a lot of other stuff that's happening. So thank you all, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.
See you there.